I'm here with Rachel Hugh of the Vurger Co. And we're going to be talking about how to start a restaurant. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you give us a little bit of a background on who you are and what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, of course. Well, hi everyone. Such a pleasure to be here. My journey was honestly such a crazy, wild ride to get to this point. I actually started my whole career in the fashion industry. So I was a fashion buyer, and I did that for around 10 years. My career definitely took me all around the world, and it was a great insight into that industry for sure. But I kind of all I ever love to do, as I'm sure you guys are the same, is just eat and find amazing restaurants and find amazing cuisines and just eat in different parts of the world. And it was just kind of a passion of mine. And you get to that point well, I did in my career where I didn't necessarily think I was making a difference. So I found that really hard it was kind of my daily life was one thing, but then I went home and I used to feel another thing. And I hated that I wasn't making that difference. And it was that was going on in one half of my brain on one side. And then on the other side of it, my co-founder Neil, he really suffered really badly with bad stomach issues, and he had done for a very, very long time. And it was that really kind of instigated the whole change for us. So we turned the big 3-0, our big birthday, and we took a trip to California. And this was back in 2016. And we realized the amazing things that people were doing just with vegetables, and the amazing taste, the amazing textures. And it was something that we had never seen here in London before, like ever before. We were completely blown away, and it became like a passion of ours. So we came home after that holiday, and we realized, okay, we really need to make a change here. And Neil started feeling better because he was eating well, and we started to really delve into like documentaries and reading up on different things. And we pretty much went vegan overnight. It was like when you have that thing in your mind and you realize, oh my gosh, how have I lived my life like this before? So it was that combination of things that happened in our personal lives. And we then realized, okay, well, there's nothing like this in the London market. We would go out and eat in our favorite burger place that we liked beforehand, and suddenly we became an inconvenience to them. We wanted to remove the mayo, remove the egg, change this, no meat. People didn't understand what vegan meant. So it became really hard for us then to eat out. So we spent a lot of time working on recipes in the house, and we realized, oh, hey, we're pretty good at this. So it was that all those three combinations of wanting to make a difference, becoming vegan in our lives, combined with the fact that Neil started feeling better and his health was progressing infinitely better than it had in the previous 10 years, purely because of what he was eating. So it was all of those things. And then we sat down and we realized, okay, the Vurger Co is born. And literally that was how it all began. And that was, yeah, 4 years ago now, which is mad.
What was that process like of like first steps of creating your first place?
Do you know what? It was probably the toughest thing and the best thing that we ever did in the very beginning. We realized, well, okay, we have this idea, but what do we do with it? Or, we have these ideas for recipes, but how do you go about the process? So I think, well, Neil or I, neither one of us had a culinary background. The industry tends to kind of push you to the side if you don't have a background in that. So I think that became really tough for us in the beginning. Also, we were really trying to sell that vegan concept, but it was completely unproven. It wasn't really in the marketplace. We were told basically you wouldn't make it on a daily basis. Everything we did, we found ourselves having to prove ourselves. It became quite exhausting in the beginning, but the reason that actually pushed us to do better in the beginning also. So we would get out there and we would do market stalls, we would do pop-up restaurants, we would do anything and everything that got us out there and got our customers talking back to us and giving us feedback. So, if we decided to put something on the menu and we thought it was pretty great, well, within 10 minutes of it not selling, we'd realize, okay, this isn't such a good thing. So we would immediately, that immediate customer feedback in that beginning of that journey became the making of us later on, for sure. We realized what people wanted, what they didn't want, how to work out the costs of goods, how to work out a supply base, all of those things that are so crucial in the beginning of learning the process of, for those who do and don't have a background, all of those things are still a learning journey. So, it became really, really important for us to kind of get out there and do as much as we could. So, and obviously at the time we were still working full time to fund the side project. So on a Monday to Friday, we would work solidly in our previous jobs, so the 9 to 5, and then on the Saturday we would make our burgers. On the Sunday we would sell them. So we really bootstrapped our way to get into our goal, which was opening a restaurant. But it was at that point that we realized, okay, I really want to open, for us and our customers and everything, it really made sense to have that permanent restaurant site. So in doing that and in researching those things, we realized you need a little bit more than just, passion for your product here. You need to really get into depth about, your covers and your staffing levels and what square footage makes sense for you and how is it going to work conceptually. And it was through all of those things that we really, delved into the detail of those things. And it was through doing so that we realized, okay, we can't bootstrap our way to a permanent restaurant here. Landlords feel that we're an unproven concept. We need to really kind of, have some backing behind us, and the backing to us meant the funding. So, we reached out to many investors at the time. This is very early stage, and of course, angel investors maybe didn't understand our concept, or maybe didn't understand the vegan market. Remember, this was 4 years ago, and this is London, which wasn't like what it is today. So it became a very hard thing to get people to understand what we were, and to get people to understand what our vision for the future. So we kind of had to sit there and think to ourselves, well, what do we have? What are the assets that we have right now, apart from myself and Neil? Like, what is it that we represent? Well, the one thing that we had built this whole time, and which was the whole reason for us doing these market stalls and these pop-up restaurants, was the kind of the customer base that we had built, and therefore in turn the social media presence that we built. And all those people wanted us to win. They wanted us to succeed. They wanted that restaurant. So we found ourselves getting to the point where, okay, well, maybe the thing to do here to get that funding was to do a crowdfunding campaign. So that's exactly what we did. So in 2017, we launched that crowdfunding campaign, and it was the kind of the instigator that drove the rest of the business to move forward.
Awesome. Do you have any tips for doing a crowdfunding campaign off the top of your head?
Definitely. I think a lot of people in the beginning, well, it was a very different process back then, in the sense of, I'm sure crowdfunding has moved on a lot since 2017, but we were told to kind of raise at least 10 to 20% of your total raise that you want to, and have it already kind of signed up, or at least, you have someone who can put that initial amount in. So then when it's in the campaign, immediately gets off to a good start. So people, you get higher on the page, people start to notice you more. All of those things really count in a crowdfunding campaign. And just before, you go live, make sure that you're telling everybody. So, get the message out there. The day before, we had a really awesome event where we reached out to all of our fans. We just said, hey, come on down, grab a free burger, free shake, free side. All we want you to do is talk about it. And they did, because they wanted to see us succeed. So immediately when our campaign went live, we had all of those people talking about us, and all of those people saying, hey, go support them. Because on the platform where we raised our money, you could put as little as £10 into the campaign. So many people felt they were a part of our journey, which was actually really special. And those people are still kind of some of our best customers today. So yeah, we're super grateful for that whole process. It really kind of allowed us to gain the money that we needed to start that first restaurant of ours, which was in Shoreditch in East London, and it's still there today.
Awesome. And I know it's no surprise to everyone that the restaurant industry has changed tremendously in the past 6 months or so. How have you adapted, survived, thrived in this time?
Definitely. Do you know what? It's super difficult to start a restaurant full stop, and to even be in the midst of this journey of 4 years in the middle of a pandemic is nobody could have predicted it. Nobody would have had it on their risk map of 2020. Nobody. There's no one on earth. And I think it's just how you grow and adapt from that process. So we had that moment. Let's be honest, where we sat there and we were just thinking, okay, breathe. What do we do now? And we had so many amazing things in the pipeline for 2020. We had amazing plans and so many little things that we wanted to implement that suddenly we had to hit pause and literally close our restaurants. So we closed immediately from March right through to end of June. And that was mainly from the reason of wanting to protect our team. Taking the tube in London was quite difficult at the time. We didn't want anybody to be under any duress that they didn't need to be. So we closed, and then we had that opportunity to obviously give back to our team and make sure that they were safe. Then we reopened in that meantime, should I say, we actually pivoted quite massively. And it was through, again, our customers saying to us, I know you're closed. I appreciate that you're closed, but please, we still want to access you. So we thought the only way to do that was to provide our burgers, but in the form of a meal kit. So we would put all the elements to build a burger of your dreams, but at home, in the comfort of your home with your family or your friends. And we packaged that up. So all of our team, I don't know if you guys had the same in New York, but we had this thing called furlough, which meant that the government were paying a part of our team to kind of be at home, which was really, really awesome and kind of saved the game in that sense. So at least they were taken care of, and that was excellent. So it just meant the only people working in our business through that time was myself and Neil. So we would literally package, pick everything, put it in a box, put it all together, put it in the back of our van, drive it around London, deliver it to customers, and do it all over again. So it kind of felt like day one of our journey all over again, which was actually really, really nice because we got that moment to just be in front of our customers again and talk to them and just say, hey, I know you're going through this really wild time, but here's this amazing meal kit box. And I think customers really appreciated that. And they loved the fact that we had gone out of our way to provide another service and kind of pivot our way through this time. And it's still on our website. We literally made our website transactional overnight, and they're still available on there now. So that shows the popularity. It got picked up by the likes of GQ magazine, and people were like, oh my god, this is amazing, this is so cool. And obviously the popularity of meal kits have really exploded here in London anyway, and it's definitely helped people reach a brand in a whole new way. And that's definitely something that we consider, well, we will definitely carry on in the future also. And I think the other thing that we did to pivot was to bring forward our release of our vegan sauces. So we had always planned to sell our sauces in the restaurants and that kind of thing, but it wasn't our initial thought to kind of put our products online. So again, as part of that transactional process of our website for the meal kits, we also launched our sauces online. So people, again, could just access a little bit of us, but in their home. So just providing that convenience and another service for people, I think really, really helped people engage with us even more throughout that whole time, which was quite special actually. And it was a really nice thing for us to go through because we were connecting with people on a whole new level again. And if that hadn't happened, I don't think we would ever have made ourselves transactional on our website. I don't think we would ever have done meal kits, and I don't think we would ever have sold our sauces online. We would have put them in the store. So I think it's helped us reconnect with the tech side of the industry and really see the value and its importance for the future, definitely.
Absolutely. It sounds like you have such a strong customer base and community. What is the makeup of your customers? Would you say it's mostly vegans, flexitarians?
It's such a mix. It's we of course have a vegan customer. That's who kind of initially grabbed hold of us and kind of nurtured us to where we are. And we're so grateful for that. But at the same time, we are seeing the kind of transition, and we have done for the last few years, is those people, those initial kind of excited customers who love us and really want to eat with us every day, telling their friends, and then those friends telling their work colleagues, and then it's kind of spread from there really organically. And some of those people may not be vegan, or they may be flexitarian, or they may only eat with us once a month. But all of those things build a picture, because then when it's a rainy day like it is here in London, well, they'll hit Deliveroo or whatever kind of delivery site that is of preference, and they'll sit on there and they'll be like, oh, do you know what, I ate at that restaurant last month, it was really cool, I'll have that again. So it's just about building those touch points with the customer, that no matter what, they kind of recognize and see the worth of your brand, no matter what platform you're in, and no matter how they try to access you. Being a burger restaurant, it's great that we can like package our burgers and send them in a box, and that can be sent within 2 miles of our restaurant, which is excellent. And it means that we can obviously access a whole other customer as well, just people who are scrolling on an app, or who fancy eating vegan today, or maybe once in a blue moon. But I think just being there and being present and being convenient is half the battle, definitely.
And so for the founders who are watching, what advice do you have for them?
You know what, if you're kind of starting out, and I can only speak in the sense of starting a restaurant, it's tough. There's no easy route to this, and we definitely started with nothing, and like I mentioned, we bootstrapped our way to making this happen. And we definitely needed that funding, and we definitely needed that to even open the restaurant site. But I think there's three things to do, in my opinion, especially if you're opening a restaurant. It's proving your concept. I think you need to get out there, trial with your customers, find your customers. Who are they? What do they like to do? Where do they spend their weekends? Who are they talking to? Where do they work? Where's their locality? Now that they're not going to an office, where do they live? All of these little things now more than ever before are going to be essential to anybody starting in the restaurant industry. And you also have to think far more than the locality of your restaurant itself. You have to think about, okay, well, where is the delivery radius of this restaurant? Who am I going to reach now? That's going to become more important now more than ever before. And I think just not just thinking about your bricks and mortar, but also the technical angle of your business also, like I mentioned, online or delivery platforms, or the data that's behind your business to make those smart decisions. So I think proving your concept, absolutely. I think showing that it works on paper is fundamental. You really have to map out your concept. You have to map out, okay, well, how many staff members are you going to need? How many will you need to run your operation from scratch? What's the square footage that makes sense for you and your concept? How is that formula looking for you? And I think it's only when you work out all of those key metrics for your business will it make sense, and will it be valid for you to show to anybody in the future also, especially if you're raising funds. Most people will ask those questions, definitely. So I think proving your concept, showing that it works on paper, and then knowing, unfortunately, how it's going to be funded. Because, I definitely bootstrapped my way throughout that first year, and I know how tough that was on me kind of mentally as well. You have to think about your mental health and everything here, and that was a real tough journey for us. We constantly working Monday to Friday, constantly serving our burgers and building your brand, and it became the making of us, because you realize how much tenacity and resilience you really need on this journey. And if you can get through those times, that you can definitely make it later on, when you have those tough times in the restaurant industry, such as these, which you could have never ever thought of before. And I think knowing how to fund yourself, even if it's not from external sources, knowing how to get yourself through that first year at least, or 6 months to 12 months, and how you're going to, if times get tough, how will you ensure that your rent is paid, your bills are paid, and nothing's kind of left outstanding. And if you have a staff member, making sure that okay, well, how am I going to also pay for that person? It's so important that everyone else has to get paid too. Your suppliers, your supply base, your staff, everyone matters in the restaurant industry, and there are so many different elements that make up that burger that you serve. And it's about getting in depth about all of those things and making sure that you're looking at everything as a whole picture. I think those three things would definitely, I'd say, to anybody starting a restaurant.
Awesome. And in terms of challenges, I know that there tends to be different challenges for different stages. What do you think are the biggest challenges when starting out compared to when you grow to multiple locations, for example?
Definitely. I think in the very beginning, it's really tough, and you have to be, I know I keep saying this word, but you have to be resilient. And when you have those good days, it's awesome, and you feel the buzz and you can't wait to serve the next person, or you get their feedback and it makes you feel awesome. But on the other side, on the flip side of that, you also have those really tough days, those days where, especially if you're on a market stall or a pop-up restaurant, things like weather can hinder somebody coming out to eat with you that day. There are such small things, like in London, a tube station being closed that day could have hindered someone from coming to visit you. So such little things matter in the restaurant industry that you have to just keep going no matter what. And I think, that these challenges are going to remain. That there are so many restrictions in place in London with regards to what you can and can't do in a restaurant now, and I'm sure it's the same worldwide. But I think you have to learn to do as much as possible with as little as possible. So learning that fine balance between budget and what you have to budget on a daily basis to make your operation work really successfully. And then on the flip side of that, learning, okay, well, what are the costs that I have to operate under, and how do I manage those costs to make sure that they're as resilient as possible and they're going to work for your business for the long term, not just the short term. It's so easy to think day to day, but you have to think, month on month, and how you're going to make the payroll next month, or what sales figures do I need this month to make sure that everybody's paid, if you know what I mean. So I think all of those things are crucial, and just keeping in touch with your customer and not kind of hitting pause just because you've had a bad day. You have to keep giving that positivity and keep giving people a reason to come and eat with you. So innovation is crucial, especially with your product. Your product has to be outstanding no matter what. You have to always be thinking of, okay, what's next? Who's out there? What is the marketplace saying? Where are people going if they're not eating with you? And why are they going there? Is it because the experience is better? Is it because the customer service is better? How do you win those people? And you can win them in so many different ways, but product innovation, customer service is key, and just keeping people engaged with you as a brand on social media. Like, all of those things are absolutely crucial.
Awesome. I know that Vurger has done a lot of collaborations. Can you talk about some of your favorite ones and how they came about?
Definitely. Oh, I think collaborations are so wonderful for any restaurant to do. I think if you aren't reaching out to others and showcasing to your customers how much you appreciate others doing the same thing as you or something slightly different, I think it would be a shame not to do them. So yeah, we've done them since the very beginning, and we actually went to California in I think it was 2018, yes, and we collaborated with Chef Chloe. That was amazing. We did that in the festival Eat Drink Vegan. I don't know if anyone was there, but that was the most delicious burger, and I absolutely loved that. And that was a phenomenal time to kind of work with her and learn through her she's a phenomenal chef, so I absolutely loved that experience. And then we worked with Chef Gaz Oakley. I don't know if any of you guys follow him on Instagram. He is at Avant-Garde Vegan, so he has a phenomenal kind of YouTube channel. He's a chef by trade, and we met with him very early on in our journey, and we were able to collaborate with him very early on in our kind of journey as well. And we made the most phenomenal burger I think I've ever had. And from that point on, he actually came as part of our team, and he became our executive chef quite early on. And he's been working on different specials every single month with us since I would say 2018. So just continuously every single month coming up with something new. We would look at what's in the marketplace, what new innovations are in place, and how can we kind of be better every single month and grow, time to time, which was phenomenal. So I absolutely loved working with him. And we've worked with other brands such as Tabasco. We created an amazing burger with them, which is actually still on our menu today. And that was probably the first collaboration that we ever did back in 2017. And we made something called the O burger, but I know you guys don't call them aubergines, but it was a huge thing for us. We would roast our aubergines and we would put them in Tabasco chipotle sauce, and then when they dry out, they would almost be like pulled pork. It was phenomenal, mind-blowing. And then we made that into a delicious burger, and that's basically been on our menu ever since, and it's just unbelievable. We love that one. So yeah, collaborations have become crucial to us, and it's something we're always looking to do, and we're always looking for, okay, who's doing something cool, and who could we team up with next. It's always something that we're thinking of. Always. We love it.
Awesome. So I'm curious, as more fast food chains like KFC and Burger King add more plant-based items to their menu, how are you competing and differentiating yourself?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think the one thing that we have, and I know it always comes back to this, but is the authenticity of our brand. I think the more that our customers know and understand and grow with us as a brand, they can see that everything that we've done since the very beginning has been mission driven. We care so much deeper than many large corporations about what we're doing, and the difference that we want to make to the environment in which we are kind of operating within. So it means so much more to us than just creating a burger and hope people come and get it. It's the compostable packaging that we have, and we ensure that it's actually composted. So that's like a big thing to us, and we tell our customers all about the environmental credentials of the ingredients that we use, and the transparency of the provenance of our ingredients is a big thing for us, and just sharing with our customers each last detail that we can, so that again we can just engage on a deeper level with our customer base. And I think honestly in this day and age, that means so much more to people than just putting a burger out there just for convenience or just for money or just for profit. I think people really want to engage with the brand on a deeper level, and that's how we're going to compete, on innovation, on brand engagement, and just keeping growing as quickly and as much as we can. And I think the proof of that kind of mindset has definitely been the recent restaurant that we opened in Brighton. We opened it in the middle of a pandemic, which technically on paper shouldn't have worked. It should have been a complete and utter disaster, and we were like braced for disaster. But it was the most successful restaurant launch that we've ever had. People came down, they couldn't wait to eat with us, and it's not like we were the only vegan option in the marketplace. So I think people really engage with you when you come from a place of authenticity and a place of really caring about what you're doing, from each last ingredient to the packaging to the message that you give your teams and the experience that they have in store. And when all those things match up, it's like it can be mind blowing and just a phenomenal experience for our customers. And that's the one thing that we always try to remember is looking at it from a customer experience and from a customer's point of view. And as long as you can do that, and yeah, you'll mess up or things will go wrong, or you may not get it completely spot on that day, but it's about how you deal with that and how you kind of approach those questions and that feedback, and then move on in a positive light as well. And I think people really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So, what's next? How do you see your business evolving in the future?
Definitely. Well, do you know what, the pandemic has been a kind of learning curve for us, and we have definitely learned so much. And as I said, we've pivoted and we've done so many things. But I think this industry in general worldwide, I think the London scene is riddled with issues. That there is no doubt. And I think with the governmental kind of changes and so much happening, even here in London and the UK, it's madness. But we need to remember that the UK employs, I think it's like 10% of the working population work in the hospitality industry. That's like 1 in 10 people. That's a phenomenal number. And I think worldwide, it's something like $570 billion this industry is worth worldwide. So we can't forget the importance of the hospitality industry, which covers so much more than restaurants. It's hotels and so much more. This is a huge industry, and I think if we don't stand up and support those who are really trying to make a difference here, there is of course going to be the long-term damage if we don't kind of stand up and say, do you know what, today I'm going to head down the road and head to that amazing little restaurant that I know those people have been working really hard to kind of survive. I'm going to go and eat with those guys tonight, or I'll have delivery, or I'll buy something from their website. And I think the more that we as a nation can kind of do that and kind of just piggyback and get on board with those people, no matter what the industry, no matter what where they've come from, what they've done before, if they're giving it a go, you should definitely support them. So I think the future as a restaurant is, of course, it's going to be tough. There is no doubt about it. But you know what, we've seen incredible results so far. It's been super positive for us. And like I mentioned, we opened that restaurant and I'm so grateful for the response that we had. But I think, we need to support now more than ever before. And, we need to be smart about how we grow. So using technology, using the data that we have, and using the analysis that we have from the last 4 years and using that to our advantage. And I think having a greater focus on quality and a greater focus on innovation now more than ever before has definitely it's kind of pushed us to be that way inclined. We were before for sure, but it's definitely made it a solid front and center focus of ours. And I think just learning how to stand out and be different, and of course keeping your costs down is absolutely crucial, but just learning how to connect with your customer now more than ever before, and getting your engagement as a brand up now more than ever before. And the different ways that you can do that are obviously massive, and reaching out and collaborations is absolutely categorically one way of doing that. So all of those things combined, and just being as kind of honest and as authentic as possible, and making sure that people know, do you know what, we may mess up, or we may not get this right 100% of the time, or you know what, the rules are changing every day, but hey, we're growing and we're learning and we're doing great things here, and I just want you to come down and try it just once. You may love it, and then you never know, people may just become your most loyal customers as a result. So we've definitely seen new customers come into us that we've never seen before, which has been mind blowing to us. And our team are just the most positive, wonderful people, and they've definitely helped us going throughout this whole time. So there's no way we could have done it without them. So yeah, we're grateful, and I think we remain positive for the future. It's the only thing that we can do, and we're just focused on innovation now more than ever before.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit more about building a team and running a team and creating that company culture?
Oh, definitely. I think for us, we began just two of us, and then we kind of grew to a small team. But I think it was opening the restaurant that we realized, okay, we've suddenly got 25 people in this restaurant, some part time, of course. But how do we even start a company culture? What does this even mean? But it came quite naturally in the sense that, both Neil and I had worked in like huge corporations before, where you literally don't mean very much. You're just a number on a piece of paper, and you kind of feel a little bit, worthless. So the one thing that we wanted our teams to feel was absolutely valued and loved and appreciated. So we just took the time to get to know everybody, and took the time to understand, okay, well, what makes everybody tick? Well, on those really hard days when maybe nobody's coming into the restaurant, how do I ensure that, the energy is up, or, people really feel like, okay, well, when that one customer comes in, we're going to give them everything possible because I really want to be here today. Because the hospitality industry has a really, it's known for long shifts and hard times, and, people feeling really, downtrodden. So I think we wanted to reverse engineer all of that and make people feel, really valued, and make people feel like, okay, well, maybe this isn't your first choice to work in this restaurant, in the sense of the restaurant industry isn't your future goal. You're working here maybe as a part-time job, and that's cool. No problem. But when you're here, we expect, the most amazing energy from you. So what can we do in return to kind of help you get there? So it was very much an open conversation. We very much are honest with our team, and we just give them as much energy as we expect in return, no matter how tough it gets. And I think it's that open communication that has helped us build, from one restaurant to two to three. And, the more that we've built our head office also, we now have an amazing development chef. We have incredible people that we work with, day to day, that I sometimes I sit back and I'm just mind blown that all these people want to come and work for me. This is mad. And I think, but, I've realized that just providing a really nice environment to be in, that's just, open and honest, and people actually feel like they want to come to work. It was building all of those kind of those blocks that made me realize, well, okay, it's kind of natural, but not many people do it. And I think that's where we've stood out again as a workplace, for people to actually want to come and work with us. And I think that's really, really important for anyone to consider going forward, is all of those things.
Absolutely. We have a question from Christina. Can you talk about menu creation and determining prices?
Yeah, definitely. So when we are thinking of something new, so it's generally, so we've just launched a teriyaki burger today, but we were working on that 3 months ago. And the process is, we would come up with an idea, something, it will come from a marketplace trend, or we will think to ourselves, okay, we've never done this before, this could really, really work. And then we kind of put together almost like a prototype of the product. We all taste it, we have a development session, and we really get into the crux of, okay, how can this work? From that moment onwards, we then look at, okay, well, all of those elements within that burger, we break it all down, we literally write it all down, and then we look at our supply base, and we look at how much all of those elements cost. And then, the most important thing for us, whilst looking at all of those elements and how much they cost, is get into the margin of that product. Every single restaurant will have a target margin for a particular item, and within that margin, you need to take into account your rent, your business rates. You have to take into account staffing costs, and so many more elements. And then, at the end, that little margin at the end, that's what you kind of need to keep on top of, to make sure that once all those things are taken care of, you're still making money from that particular product. So you reverse kind of work back to, okay, well, once all those things are taken care of and you have your target margin, you'll know how much that product needs to be, at retail on your menu. And then at the same time, if when you've worked on all of those items and you can then get to that target margin and you say, okay, well, this burger needs to be in this case, like $20. Okay, well, will that work? Will people want a $20 burger? Or is your concept kind of only a $5 burger? So you need to work out so many different things. Then, are people willing to pay for that item? Will it fit on your menu? Does it work for you? So you could even, we've done this in the past where we've gotten to that point and we've worked everything out, and then we've had to scrap the whole thing because it just doesn't work. And then we don't want to devalue the product because we don't want to put in a cheaper item, or we don't want to, cut out a particular thing because it's the making of the product. So in all of those things, we try to make sure that, okay, well, if the margin is this and it works and it's X price and it all works, okay, is the product good? And then we go back again to look at the product. Okay, well, is this good enough? Will people want to pay for this? Does it taste great? Will it work at scale? That's another thing for us. We're all about volume. So if we're not, if we're producing something that needs tweezers to put something on top, it's not going to work for us. It needs to be high, fast paced, great volume. It needs to work at high scale. So we always take a look at, okay, well, how will that work for our concept? So there are so many different things to, that burger getting on the menu. There's a whole process that before that burger gets on that menu. And I think, I can talk at length in this. So if anybody wants to kind of ask a question afterwards, you're more than welcome to. But yeah, there are so many different steps to take there.
And Linda asks, how specifically do you determine your square footage needs and those details?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the one thing for us is you have to make a note of your rent. And then on top of that, we have business rates here in London. So you have to make sure that you know what your rent is, what your business rates are. You then have to work out, well, okay, if I have a 300 square foot restaurant, and I need 10 people to operate it at any given time. There are 10 people in here. Okay, well, what is their hourly rate? If they're going to be working all day, how much will that cost you? And then you have to then suddenly work out, okay, well, at a daily rate, what is this space costing me? What to literally, at a cost level. Then you have to work out, okay, well, how much do I need to make today to make that make sense and add up, and not just cover your costs, actually make money. And that's such a smart thing to do from the very beginning, is to literally strip down all of your costs, write everything down, and then only then will you know what it will cost you to actually make money in your particular concept. For us, if we have too many staff members at any given time, that affects our daily profit, because you really have to take that into account, and you really have to figure out, okay, well, if my percentage of staff per sales is too high today, but I needed those number of staff to deal with those orders, well, you need to figure out, okay, well, how does that affect your concept? If you desperately need those 10 people today, that's going to be challenging moving forward for you, because then you either need higher scale and therefore higher sales, or you need to kind of increase your prices. So it's everything is a fine balance, and a fine balance of understanding who you are and what you represent and what your concept is.
David asks, you were very successful in getting 1.4 million in VC funding earlier this year. Apart from the obvious injection of capital, what is it like as a startup working with a large external investor?
Oh, it's really great, actually. Because they're not necessarily a VC, it's more a small kind of fund, and we found them through actually LinkedIn. And I reached out, and it was really, really important to us at that stage that we had someone on board and on our team who understood the vegan market and understood the market in which we're operating. And it took us a really, really long time to find that person. We actually found an investor from the US, a really high profile investor in the US, and it just didn't make sense for us, and nothing about the kind of the deal made sense. So I think that's really important, is to know when to step up and know when something's wrong for you and to step away from it, and don't just accept something just because it's money. It's not worth it. You remember, this is a partnership for life. So when we found this investor and we knew that they were super passionate about the industry, what we were doing, they understood restaurants. That's a big, big thing. Not many people understand the restaurant industry. And someone who's passionate about and believes in you as a person. Remember, they are leaving you to run the restaurant and your business every single day. So if somebody is going to be on your back and questioning you and isn't believing in you and what you represent on a daily basis, that would be alarm bells. So make sure that you are confident enough in yourself, that you know your industry inside and out, that you can then, when you're looking for a partner, you know what you're looking for, and you know that you're looking for someone who mutually respects you and your kind of vision for the future, and not being afraid to be honest about that, and just keeping up open communication, being really honest about your vision, and being coachable as a person also. I don't know everything. I didn't come from a culinary background. I don't have all the answers, but I certainly have an opinion. So, and I know my business better than anybody else. And I think it's just about bringing that to the table and sharing that with your team and being honest about it. Because if you don't kind of receive critique or receive feedback well, that's obviously hard for the future, and that's hard to have a good relationship also. So I think everything is about mutual respect, and everything is about mutual understanding and open communication, and it's been an absolute breeze in that sense. I've absolutely loved the relationship, and I have learned so much as a result, and I think it's helped me grow.
Christina asks, what types of things did you do in the beginning days to build your social media presence?
Oh, that's such a great question. So from the very beginning, we were operating in a time where Instagram was quite new, especially for food, and especially in London, people really weren't doing very much with it. And we really wanted to reach out to our customers. And it was mainly from the point of view of telling them, oh, hey, we're going to be in this market stall today, or hey, we're going to be in this pop-up restaurant. So people could actually find us. It wasn't necessarily for any other reason. And it was from doing that people would kind of follow us because they wanted to know where we're going to be next. So we used that to our advantage, and we kind of then started reaching out to people. Oh, hey, so next week we're going to be here, and we're going to be serving this brand new burger, and this is what it looks like, and this is how you can taste it. And we would show like little videos to people. It was really, really basic stuff, and it wasn't anything grand. We didn't have an amazing photographer. We didn't have any of that. And now we have amazing iPhones, but back then I literally had the most basic phone ever. So I think it's just about not being afraid to reach out to people. And if somebody, invited, I used to invite people down. That's quite key, to taste your food and talk about the concept. And, if they became your amazing customers of the very early days, nurture them and reach out to them and do whatever you can to kind of give back to that person, because that person will be the one that ends up spreading the news about your brand and spreading, how awesome your food is organically to people that you could have never reached. When back in the day when you would go to brunch or talk about something, you'd say, oh, hey, did you check out that little pop-up from, that place in East London the other day? And then that's how everything spreads, and people can't wait to talk about great things. I know I can't. If I've discovered something, I'll tell everybody about it. So I think, making sure to reach out to people, not being afraid to ask for feedback, good, bad, or ugly, it's all great. And, just getting out there and doing what you can with the budget that you have. It doesn't need to be fantastic. It doesn't need to be phenomenal. You just need to do what you can. And I think people will appreciate your position and your honesty and the authenticity in which you've started. I know I love brands who do that, and I think it's pretty cool.
And I think we have time for one last audience question. Leslie asks, how do you source vegan and ethical supplies for your restaurant? Do you meet suppliers at events, or do you just Google? What's that process like?
Oh, that's a really great question, and it's really, really hard, especially in the initial days. we tend to, with every single supplier that we find, we ask for the transparency of their supply chain straight up. We literally, it's one of the first questions that we ask. So with every ingredient that we use, we make sure that it's sustainable, it's from great sources, and if we can't find it, we don't use it. It's pretty much that simple. We don't use something if we don't believe in it, or we don't have the provenance of their ingredients or the provenance of the kind of supply chain. And yeah, it's difficult, and Google becomes your best friend, of course, definitely, but also don't hesitate to go onto social media platforms like Instagram. Really helps. There may be a small startup that's just started out and are using the hashtags that you're kind of looking for, and then suddenly you'll be connected with a startup company just because you searched for, like, I don't know, palm oil free chocolate. Great. There may be a company out there doing exactly that, and then suddenly you're connected, and that's awesome. So don't hesitate to reach out on all different platforms and keep going. I guarantee there's someone out there doing what you're looking for. And if not, and you can't find anything, well, hey, that's a business opportunity in itself. So you never know, if you're looking for it, maybe other people are. So that could be a whole, avenue to explore for yourself as well. I know we've done things like that, especially with mayos. In the very beginning, we couldn't find a great vegan mayo. So we pretty much made all of our sources right from the word go, right from market stall days. We couldn't access the amazing products that you had in the US back here in London in 2016. So again, you may not find what you're looking for, so just go out there and do it yourself if not.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to ask one more question. Do you have a book or podcast recommendation for everyone to help them in their entrepreneurial journey?
Wow. Okay. So I actually listened to Guy Raz. I don't know if you guys listen to the same podcast. I think he is phenomenal. I think the different people that he reaches out to are amazing. And we recently went on Elizabeth Alfano's podcast the other day. She is phenomenal. She speaks to incredible vegan entrepreneurs, and the people she has on her podcast are unreal. And I think I've definitely learned from the people that she has had on there, and I would definitely 100% recommend her podcast. You can find her on Instagram, just at Elizabeth Alfano.
Yes, we had Elizabeth speak with us yesterday.
Yeah. I know.
So thank you again so much for your time. This has been a great conversation, and yes, I'll meet you backstage.
Thank you everyone for having me. Have a great day.